As part of our ongoing series of cinematic analysis, Uncle Paulie will discuss Godzilla vs. Kong.
Hey, how you doing? Paulie, and I'm going to talk about this movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, right? And it's another one of those movies in the whole MonsterVerse thing. There's a couple of Godzilla ones, and then there's Kong Skull Island, right? And Godzilla was the one with Bryan Cranston in it for like a hot minute. And then the other one was Godzilla King of the Monsters, right? Where you got Ghidorah, right? And Rodan and Mothra and all them, and duking it out. And they destroyed Boston, which is the best part of that movie. And then Kong Skull Island is it was back in the 1970s during Vietnam, and they go to Skull Island, and there's Kong, and he basically destroys 20 helicopters. So this one takes place sort of now, I guess. You know, it's really hard to tell what year it is, but it's definitely not the 70s. It's many years later, and you basically got these two titans, right? And they're both alphas, and Godzilla, he's been wiping out all the titans that are not on Skull Island. You know, everybody else, all of those other titans. And then Kong, he's basically getting all the titans just on Skull Island. You know, so them skull crawler guys, and I guess that giant water buffalo thing, I guess he killed that thing. So he's the king of Skull Island. So now it's now, and the people are trying to make sure that these two alphas don't know about each other, otherwise they're going to duke it out. And because they decided that even though Kong killed all them helicopters and whatever, he's still a good guy, and Godzilla is the city savior because, you know, he wiped out Ghidorah and didn't completely flatten San Francisco. So I guess that's the criteria that we're using for if you're a good titan or a bad one, right? So what they've done, though, is they're studying Kong on Skull Island, and they've built like the Houston Astrodome over the entire island. And I got to tell you, you know, you're watching a movie like this, there's got to be a certain level of suspension of disbelief, right? You're like, all right, giant monsters running around smashing the city. But I got to tell you, this Houston Astrodome thing, it really pulled me right out of the movie, because all I could think about was, how the hell did they build this thing, and how much did it cost? Like $80 trillion? And how do you build a Superdome thing over an entire island? I mean, I'm just trying to picture, you know, guys welding all that infrastructure. Meanwhile, Kong's throwing trees, at you. What's the overtime and the hazard pay on something like that? It seems ludicrous to me. That's all I can think about is how are they building this stupid Astrodome over an entire island, right? Plus, on the inside, it's got like his hologram technology, like out of the Hunger Games. You know, I was waiting for Katniss to shoot an arrow up, and Kong, he throws a tree up, and he's like, I can see this is an illusion, and I don't like it. But like, how did they build it? I don't know. Anyway, so what's the plot, you might ask, about this movie? Well, the people, they're trying to, make sure that the two titans don't find each other, and then you got this corporation called Apex, right? What are they doing? It's not really clear, but they're this big corporation, and they need a power source that they think they can get in the middle of the hollow earth, right? They think we got to get down there, we got to get this power source so that we can do something. They're really ambiguous about what the something is. But we find out, and spoiler alert, that they built a Mecha Godzilla, and they need that to power it up, right? Because it's not solar panel operated, and they can't put wind turbines or whatever on it. And you need like 1 billion AA batteries to run this thing. It's gigantic. It's as big as Godzilla. So they're like, all right, we got to get to this power source, but we don't know how to get to it. So we got to have Kong show us how to get there, right? But they're like, hey, if we take Kong out of the super dome that we built over Skull Island, Godzilla's going to come calling. But, we got to take a chance. And so they do. They put him on a bunch of Navy ships, and bada bing, there's Godzilla. He's like, hey, who's this on my radar all of a sudden? I gotta go fight this guy. So they had the first fight. They're on all the battleships, and your son said, "I joined the Navy and I'm on the SS Glub Glub Glub," because that's where that ship ended up, with Godzilla and Kong smashing all the naval ships, and then Kong, he plays possum, so that Godzilla's like, "Yeah, I beat you. I'm done. I'm number one," and he swims off. And they're like, "We still gotta get Kong to Antarctica, because that's where we got a door that leads to the hollow earth." So they rig up about 50 helicopters and they fly them over. And again, I'm thinking, what are the logistics for this? How do we get them to lie down on a net, and then we attach 50 helicopters to it? And it just seems, I don't know, it pulls me out of the movie. I'm okay. I'm not questioning anything when I see a dinosaur and a giant gorilla duking it out on top of the SS Enterprise. But as soon as they hook up those nets, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Give me a break. But whatever. So they get him out there and they say, Kong, go find the Hollow Earth. And he's like, all right. Oh yeah, there's this girl who knows sign language, and apparently Kong does too. I don't know when she was teaching it to him. She was a little native island girl from Skull Island. Apparently everybody else from her tribe got wiped out by Hurricane What's-His-Bucket. It didn't affect all the workers building the skyscraper Superdome inside. I don't know if they did that before. It's like, oh, the indigenous population is wiped out. Now it's okay for us to come in. I mean, how do they even get all this stuff out there? It's in the middle of nowhere. Skull Island, it's not like it's Manhattan. Like, all right, we'll just take the bridge with all of this lumber and aluminum and titanium and, 80,000. That's like a $50 trillion project. Anyway, so they say, you know what, we got to go into the Hollow Earth. So they say, Kong, go down this tunnel. And I don't know why they needed Kong to lead them down there. I mean, it was like a one-way trip. It was like, go down the tunnel and bing, you're in the middle of the Hollow Earth there, which is like two Earths. It's like, what's that, Christopher Nolan movie with the dream within a dream, and they flip the city upside down, and you got the cities up there. Hey, what are you doing up there? And down there, and anyway, that's what it looked like. I mean, Kong is there, and he's like, all right, he's doing his thing. But apparently, once he's in the middle of the Hollow Earth, Godzilla's like, well, what are we talking about? I got somebody on my radar again. I thought I beat your ass last time. So he does the nuclear atomic breath, boop, and digs a hole straight down to the core of the Earth. And Kong is like, hey, what are you doing up there? So he climbs up, boop, 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 up there, and he's like, they're fighting it out right in Hong Kong. But meanwhile, you got these other people who are trying to figure out what Apex is up to. What are they up to? I don't know. They're up to no good. We got to figure it out. And they find this Elon Musk Hyperloop thing that goes from Pensacola to Hong Kong through the middle of the Hollow Earth, right? And I'm like, Pensacola? What are you talking about? Who would build I mean, how much did that cost? I mean, this is a tube that you can have like a subway train that'll take you from Pensacola, of all places, all the way to Hong Kong. And nobody's using it either. It's like, hey, we're just shipping stuff through here. Like, you can't take a boat? I don't understand. And how much would that cost? And who's building it? How come nobody knows about it? And why do people even live in Hong Kong? I mean, if you watch these other movies and you say, hey, I live in a big city, and then the monsters are coming in and destroying everything. I mean, they can't walk down the street without knocking over 5 buildings. Who the heck is going to live in there? I mean, we know from the pandemic that you can telework from Idaho. I think everybody be living in Idaho right now. And then the monsters are like, I'm not going to Idaho. Screw them. They can have it. The humans can live there. I'm smashing San Francisco and Hong Kong. And then I'm going to tear up that stupid Hyperloop because I can't have that going through my Hollow Earth. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway. So yeah, and then Hong Kong is where Apex has got their Mecha Godzilla, right? And they flip the switch on that thing, and it starts to kick everybody's ass. And so, spoiler alert again, Kong and Godzilla, they got to team up to destroy the robot, because the robot is doing his own thing, and he's like destroying buildings. The one thing I will give him credit for is they didn't do the shot where you're looking outside through the office window, and you can see the Titans smashing it out. And then you got some guy with headphones on and like a vacuum cleaner cleaning the thing up. You see that all the time. They didn't do it. I mean, I was expecting it because they had a bunch of shots from inside a building before it got destroyed. And out through the window, you can see them. And I was waiting for the cleaning lady to come right through. But they didn't do it. I'm sure they filmed it, but at least they cut it, right? They didn't have that in there. So, all right. So all this is leading me up to, all right, is this movie any good? Is it any good? Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. There's only one reason you're going to watch a movie with monsters fighting it out in a big city. Is because you want to see them destroy the city and duke it out, okay? And it's great. It does the job, You're not worried about the people taking a hyperlink and trying to figure out how to replace batteries. Nobody cares about any of that. I mean, I was watching all them Godzilla movies when I was a kid, right? And even as a kid, 8 years old, I could tell it's a guy in a suit and that's not a real city. It's a set that they built. I could tell that they were, I knew it. It wasn't fooled. I was like, oh my God, is that really Tokyo? No, I never thought that. But I appreciated, right, the effort. They put a lot of effort into building up this city. They got the power station, and they got the buildings, and they got the train, whatever. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and I appreciate that. And the special effects for this one, they're good. I mean, it looks like they went to Pensacola, and they flattened it, which, amen is what I say. But same thing with Hong Kong. They're like, hey, it looks just like Hong Kong, and adios. They basically knocked down the whole city. Fortunately, they were able to evacuate the 12 million people who live in Hong Kong. But maybe they were living in Idaho. It's like, oh, we got to evacuate the 18 people that still insist on living in a big city that like, oh, bing, bing, there comes Godzilla. We got about 4 minutes to get out of the city. Well, it's easy. We could all hop into one car. We're out of there. So, you know, they didn't show anybody. So that's what I'm figuring out. So yeah, if that's what you're after, it's perfectly good. I mean, if you like those other Godzilla movies and the Kong Skull Island, you're gonna like this one just fine, you know. But if those were like, those were no good, yeah, this one's not gonna do it for you. I mean, it's more of the same. It's really what we're talking about. So what's next? You know, Kong and Godzilla at the end, they beat Mecha Godzilla, and they're like, okay, you know, we don't have to be, you know, we can share the Earth. You take the Hollow Earth, Kong, and Godzilla, I'll be the king up here on the regular surface. But I'm watching you, and you know, as long as you stay in your turf and I'm in mine, I think we're gonna be cool. What are they going to do next? I don't know. Somebody going to build Mecha Ghidorah? I don't know. It seems a little far-fetched, but, you know, what are we talking about with that Superdome? Anything's possible. Frankly, I'm waiting for them to do Gamera, right? You know, Gamera he was that turtle. And a turtle, he could fly around like that thing out of Krull, right? And, you know, the Gamera movies, they were like competitors to Godzilla. So probably it's not gonna happen, but I wouldn't mind seeing it because I always liked those Gamera movies. His nickname was Gamera, friend to all children, which is kind of a weird name. And frankly, in the first Gamera movie, I mean, he's tearing shit up just like all the other monsters. He's smashing buildings, but you know, at one point, this kid falls out the window and he's like, "Whoa, I caught you, and you didn't die." And so they're like, "Oh, he's the friend to all children," which it seems a bit of a stretch. I mean, it was just the one time. And then all of a sudden, you know, on the other movies, anytime a kid was in trouble, he could just go, "Gamera, Gamera," and then the Krull thing would come flying in, and there he is, you know, to save the day. But I mean, pretty much, he probably killed about 50 or 60 kids, and it was just off camera in that first movie. But you know, he did put in the effort. You know, he did catch that kid. You know, he didn't have to do it. He could have just been boop. You know, you don't mean anything to me. I'm a giant monster. You're just a little kid. But he did save that kid, so. You know, I just don't think I'd go straight to he's a friend to all children now. He was a friend to that kid, maybe. He's a friend to whichever kids he didn't step on, you know. That's not catchy enough, I guess. Anyway, that's my guess. I mean, I don't think they're actually going to make a Gamera movie. I'd love to see it. You know, Gamera versus Kong. I don't know. I don't know. He could probably throw a tree, and that would be the end of Gamera. You know, boop, you're dead. Anyway, that's Godzilla versus Kong. Wasn't too bad. You can watch it at HBO Max, or if you're brave enough to go into a movie theater for 2 hours, you can go check it out there. You're welcome.